Hey guys, how are you? It's Zach from Zach Loves Books. Thanks for tuning in. This is like I think it's my fifth or sixth video now. I kind of lost count. I wasn't able to do a video last week. There's a lot of things going on, so I'm back now. Hopefully, everyone's hungry for content. And if it's your first time here, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, I just want to remind everybody too that some of the books that I may cover here are some books that I read a long time ago, or maybe a couple of years back. So if you read the book and you want to fact check me in the comments, just feel free to. Sometimes I'll say it's about 10 family members when really it was 5 or something like that. Or I'll get a name wrong. Fact check me in the comments if what I'm going to say is not always going to be 100% accurate. It's not like I'm going off a script, and it's not like I'm a media outlet that's trying to get all the facts straight. Like I said, this is a book vlog, so it's basically conversational. It's between you and I'm just trying to get people onto maybe books that they've never read before, and things that are interesting, books that I like. And so may not be your cup of tea, but I found that it's really fun choosing what I'm gonna cover next. So let's get on with it. So this time around, I think I'm gonna. I wanted to choose something rosy, maybe even something that's fiction based, but I'm gonna stick to nonfiction right now. Maybe fiction on the next one. But this is kind of I don't want to say it's a dark topic, but it is worldly and timely now that, with all the issues going on in the world, and it's just going to make you appreciate, that we live in, for those of us who do live in a free country, a free society, democracy like Canada, for example, where I live in Toronto here. So let's get started. I read this book a couple years back, and the reason, I'll actually just tell you what the book is first. It's Escape from Camp 14 by Blaine Harden. And the reason why this book caught my attention was actually because I think of this book, Nothing to Envy by Barbara Demick. Nothing to Envy, Ordinary Lives in North Korea. I'm not sure if I read this one first or if I read this one first. But basically they highlight life in North Korea, which is like one of the few places on earth that's kind of got the last totalitarian rule. Did I say that right? I think I did. But basically, North Korea is ruled over generations by the Kims. I call them. Kim Il Sung, I think, was the grandfather, and when he passed away, then I think it was Kim Jong Il or Kim Jong Un. Correct me in the comments, like how I said. But it's been like 3 generations now of them having a grip on the North Korean people. So I guess I don't know how, maybe I saw this cover, and when I read it, I was like, it really intrigued me because, basically in North Korea, you have no rights. It's a human rights disaster. There's no free media. The media is state controlled, and people are starving there, and people are dying. And they actually say that when you look at North Korea from the satellites, or from space, and you look, at night at the Earth, where North Korea is, it's just completely pitch black. So, I'm sure there's power issues there. They're not connected to the internet. And it's really horrific conditions. And when I read about Escape from Camp 14 by Blaine Harden, it's about this young man. I'm not sure. Forget what his name is, but Shin Dong Hyuk. Sorry with my pronunciation, but Shin was born, I think, in a gulag, like one of those concentration camps. he was starving. He had to do hard labor. He was forced to become a snitch. And you're kind of trained and indoctrinated not to trust your families or your neighbor. He actually saw his mother and his brother get shot to death in front of him, according to his story. But then he was able to make it out eventually. And the escape is through China. That's the route. So if you can get to China and then maybe make it to South Korea, you can get to these deprogramming centers that they have in South Korea, where they take you, and you have to go through this program for maybe, I don't know if it's a year or two or whatever, for as long as it takes to deprogram you out of the way of life that you had in North Korea. But this one was really brutal, and this one was tragic. This one was brutal because, obviously, he sees his mother and his brother, shot to death in front of him, and he makes it out eventually, and he makes it to the States. But I forget why. Like, this one was more brutal for me to read. It was about his life, whereas this one was more tragic. And this one was more about a reporter, I think, or a journalist that went to North Korea, and she was contacted by people, and she got their story. So it follows like 6 people. One's a doctor, from what I can recall, and I forget what the other people were, but there's just 6 separate stories of what it's like to grow up, in North Korea, and this repressed way of lifestyle. And starving to death. They use feces and excrement in their fertilizer. One of the guy's stories in this, when he was growing up, he would hunt birds and eat birds and squirrels and things like that because he was starving. And there's a doctor story in here where she tells about kids in the hospital dying, and her just helplessly having to watch people die of all things like starvation and malnutrition. And I mean, from what the state media puts out, they make it sound like it's civilized there, but if anyone ever goes to North Korea, you'll see that you're followed around. If you're there with a school group or some kind of group, you always have a guide, and there's always people watching you. And so life is like hard there. It's different than the rest of the world, and that's what made me curious to want to read about it. And it was just eye-opening. So yeah, Nothing to Envy by Barbara Demick. It's a little older. I forget where I got my copy, but you can find it at your local library. You may still be able to find this one at your local bookstore as well. This you'll also be able to find at your local bookstore as well, or check a used bookstore. But this one is $28.50. That's Canadian dollars. Maybe different wherever you're from, but if you want to read about one of the last totalitarian regimes in the world and how oppressive life is in North Korea, you may want to pick those up. I also have this one, In Order to Live, Yeonmi Park. I have not read this one, but it's in queue and it's on my list. When I read it, I'll come back and let you know what I thought. But if you've read any of these and they've affected you in any way, I can't forget some of the stories and images that I read in these books. So that's why I want to cover them. And I mean, it's fascinating, to learn about life in different parts of the world, especially where there's such an oppressive regime still going on even until today. Let me know what you think, and that's it for now. We'll see you in the next one.